happens then. And, so we go on. So there's always a revision. And as I said in the email to those in New York, be ready and enjoy rolling with the punches. And indeed, we always expect changes. And that's sort of the fun of what we do, I hope. I set this up to give you pretty much all the direction that you'll need. If you look at what you have here, that will tell you what this is. First, it's a space that's surrounded, so you can't hide from anything or anybody, or yourself. You have to be pretty much yourself, which is, by the way, not easy to do. I understand that. It may sound easy, just be yourself. When people say just be yourself, I go, no.
Use it practice.
I'm an actor. I got into this so I don't.
So you don't have to be yourself. To be somebody else.
You have to find who you are. You have to trust who you are. Yes, you're a fellow, but you are. You yourself are a fellow. You can't put too much on. If you're the lion, you have to find the lion in you. There's nothing you can do to mask, because that becomes something that's false. They see it right away. So you really have to converse with what you're saying. You have to sound conversational, which means you have to speak quite quickly, because as I'm doing now, I do not speak like every word is the greatest thing that ever This is how people in Shakespeare often do it. This is great stuff. Everything I say is incredibly poetic. The words are poetic, you worked at it. You have to trust that enough is there now, and now you just have to kind of really speak quickly, and that's hard to do. So even in rehearsal, I'm going to ask you to speak quickly, and if I have to, I'll say slow down at certain times. Otherwise, you just keep going like you would speak normally in every day. That's hard to do and easy to say again, but that's what we're going for. Back to what you see, the space is very open. You see the entrances very clearly. You'll come from all over. You'll be standing around all over, behind. The reason we have 28 people in the cast is if nobody comes, we'll have a full house. Anyway, I'm glad you laughed, but that is true. You see? Because unfortunately, our show is tied up with local politics, and the guy who was going to play bottom lost the election, and there went half our audience. It's come to that. 2 years ago, we had a bottom that won the election, and he brought the whole audience. That's the way it is. You see a tablecloth, which I chose carefully among all the great tablecloths that are in the back. When I came in, I asked for a table, which I got, which I'm very pleased with. And but I saw on the table a tablecloth, and it was pitch black. And I immediately said to myself, Shakespeare, very serious stuff. And then I said, is that what we want to show? And I said, I don't think so. It's a cold day, and it's holiday time. And so the concept for the afternoon, I think, and evening is that we have fun and we enjoy it. Even the serious stuff is serious, but we find somehow the lightness in it. We find the ironies, the jokes, rather than the seriousness and the importance of everything we're doing. We must study this. It is culture, which is enough to drive anybody away from it. And usually it does. And unfortunately, that's how people think of this. For good reason. Because I can only talk to myself. In high school, I kind of hated Shakespeare. I really did. Because my teachers made me very scared of it. And even in college, and even in college, it was something to be studied. And I will say it was even after Yale Drama School, I stayed away from even doing it until after I was nearly 30 years old. Which tells me that if that's the way I felt, then some other people might have felt that way too. And this whole thing is conceived not to belittle and demean and to talk down, but to tell people that this is stuff that breathes. It's immediate. It's accessible. And it's beautiful stories. What more could anybody ask? So that's the color that this tablecloth gives you. It also, this cloth says it's multicultural, it's multi-ethnic, it's multi-racial, it's multi-everything. It allows anybody and everybody.
Pretty sure plaid is monocultural, actually.
So, there you go. So that's just what we're trying to do, and with all seriousness, if you can look at this tablecloth during the rehearsal, during the show, I hope it'll give you some kind of feeling of it's spring rather than fall and winter. Okay? There's plenty of fall and winter in the lines that you're speaking, which will carry that element anyway. You just have to say those lines. You don't have to say those lines. You just have to say those lines, honestly, rather than this is incredibly serious. I believe that's how you play it anyway. How we're going to proceed is always a challenge with 28 people. And there are 18 to 19 plays being represented. We have between now and, say, 6-ish to put something together, which I have started to do, but have left a lot open until I see sort of some of the things that you bring to it. Most of it I've seen, but I need to see some things I haven't seen. The way we'll work is this. William will be kind of a production manager in here, working with me in here, and coordinating with people who will be out there working on their scenes when they're not here. And also working with Ed, who will be out there for the most part, or upstairs or wherever. But if it's upstairs, that's even harder, because that means we're not walkie-talkie technician. We don't. So the only thing I ask is that you be a little bit to keep it moving. I want everyone to first of all, have a great time and all, and eat as you go, snacks, but to be available when needed. And sometimes we won't need everybody, but at certain times we may need people, and we don't want to go looking in the lake for somebody swimming. No. So would you let William know, or Ed know, where you are if you have to go out somewhere? And let them be able to at least have some idea of your whereabouts, because I'll probably be in here most of the time, and I can't go running. Also, Laura Lee, of course, will be shuttling all over as mayor. From the kitchen to the upstairs to the downstairs. The other thing that's most important is that each of you is represented as best we can. And that's a very important part of your, it is a participatory event. Some people have prepared a little more than others. Some people are much more experienced than others. And I have to kind of weigh that accordingly, but everybody is represented. And what I've tried to also do is to not only represent everybody, but to make sure, if I can, that you are dispersed among the different parts of the evening so that people aren't all clumped together if you have only two things in one area, but that I'm trying to space you so that I put it in two parts, Act 1 and Act 2. So I'm trying to, wherever I can, I'm trying to have people equally represented in each act in some way. It's very hard to do with 28 people. And also to mix the comic with the not so comic. And as usual, there's less comic, unfortunately. Again, like the Oscars, the films that win the Oscars somehow are the serious films. The serious actors get the Oscar. I always feel the comic actors should get the actors myself. So I cherish the comic scenes. Usually when you say Shakespeare, people don't pick the comic. But we're trying to divide you accordingly so that you're represented. Where people have just one scene, I may try to, and I will try to have you do a crossover in the other act, using an element from that scene as a kind of echo. Like Benedict, doing a crossover, coming back to bickering like they did in the first act, so that you are then, oh, there they are again. A lot of the collage is actually always, to me, about seeing different themes repeated and coming back, rather than a scene night where you just go from one whole scene to the next whole scene. There'll be some of that, but hopefully mixed up a little bit. It shouldn't be a scene night, and it shouldn't be clean in that way. It should, at the same time, I'm putting, wherever I can, plays, for the most part, in collage form so that you see all of The Tempest, you see all of Hamlet. There are collages within that, but I want the audience to see the play rather than totally mixing it all up, which we've done in the past, but I want to try to see if we can keep the plays separate so that some people, even if they don't know these plays, and a lot of people don't, will get a feeling of each of the plays rather than just speeches. Okay? This may change again, but there will be an overture. Of course, we start with an overture. There's a lot of music that we use that's a cappella in this. Nothing is, everything that is sung is done without accompaniment today. And I'm going to try to use those songs throughout. They keep coming back in some ways, and usually they're just 10 to 15 seconds of a segment that's used as crossover or intro between things at certain moments. I'm asking Jennifer.
Yes,
At your right hand.
I'm asking Laura Lee. I'm asking Frankie. I'm asking Sarah Jane to be the hot club girls today, using the four corners. What you wear is up to you. or don't wear, you know? Just look at the tablecloth, it'll tell you. There may be other songs coming in, but I would start with the Hot Box Girls at the beginning. With a little bit of a symphony. There used to be a band at Ebbets Field in the old days of the Brooklyn Dodgers called the Symphony. Even Jack doesn't remember because he was in Iowa and never saw them. But they were pretty great.
I'm a Yankees fan.
Yes. The Symphony Band, and they were really terrific. So, it will be in Act 1. I will ask you to make notes in pencil, please, because you'll be probably making a lot of deletions and additions. But as of now, the first part will use the opening overture. We'll use Henry VI's Jack Cade, the first part of that first Jack Cade, the Taming of the Shrew, the first part of the Taming of the Shrew, and then Tom Crockett and Jennifer Yarrow will reprise their incredible Oscar-winning performance as the Master of Ceremony and Master of Mistress of Ceremonies, using Jen's song and All the World's a Stage to introduce the following characters. The babe mewling and puking will be in that basket that you have with the baby in it, that you take from somewhere. We'll figure out, probably from Jen. Jen will hand it to you, and that will be that babe mewling and puking, and will take you into Winter's Tale. There'll be a small cut in the beginning of Winter's Tale, Tom, in your opening speech, so that your first line would be, "What have we here?" Go right to the babe. And when you finish that scene, you go back to All the World's a Stage with Jen, and you introduce the whining schoolboy, which is Hamlet. And Hamlet comes forward with his entire entourage of collage people, yeah? And those collage people are mostly, they flew in from Albany. Whoever made it from Albany will be in that part of the Hamlet collage.
We'll add Suzanne.
What's that?
We'll add Suzanne.
I can't hear.
We'll add Suzanne.
And we'll add Suzanne with the willow. Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
Overture,
So,
6th.
We'll work
Day of the
that
Shrew.
today, sometime between now
Master
and
Ceremony.
dinner. Right? And then we go back to
Taming Shrew.
All the World's a Stage,
That's
after Hamlet collage, and Tom gives the next part as Jacques, which is the soldier,
Master Ceremony,
Right.
Crockett, and Jen.
who is arguing, right, and jealous. And lo and behold, there's Benedict coming back from the war, and that will introduce Benedict and Beatrice and company for that scene.
Benedict.
So that's after Hamlet. I'm sorry?
That's
That's
it, because
the-
all the world's.
Much Ado.
He does all the other stages, and then Benedict.
And then after that finishes, we go back to the rest of Jacques' All the World's a Stage, and we introduce the character who is the justice, right?
The lover, no, the justice?
No.
The lover's next, no?
No,
The next-
it's
who's the
lovers
next
before
character?
this.
The lover's before the justice, right?
Lovers before the judge. I believe you're giving the speech, Tom, so don't worry about it. I believe you're giving the speech. Whatever you say, we'll do, Tom. What is it, the next?
The next one is the lover, right?
Yeah.
No.
Bracket,
it's in-
Jimmy.
Right after the,
Yeah.
after the soldier,
Ceremony.
then the lover, and then the justice.
Lover comes before soldier.
What?
In good shape.
Lower proceeds.
There'll be plenty of time for Tom to learn to speak. You really don't have to worry about that. And Jen will
overture a
provide you
joke?
with the book.
What?
No, it's the
And the
floor.
line.
I got it on my
And the
phone.
line.
I got it on my phone.
Yeah, Jack. And the line can always come in.
Right.
So,
In the winter
we'll
scale.
skip right to the next screen. And go right to the end.
The lion in the winter scale.
Anyway, the next character that will be coming out after the Benedict Much Ado will be Falstaff, who will give the honor speech. So whatever you describe as Falstaff, it's the man with the stout belly, remember?
That's the justice, yeah.
And you'll come out and do the honor speech, right? And when you finish the honor speech, Lady quickly goes right into the mourning of you.
Do you want me to die on the table?
Yeah, I want you to watch.
Can I try it out and make sure it doesn't break?
No. I tried it out. Quickly is Suzanne. All right?
That is the
Alright.
Henry.
That'll be Falstaff. You all come out Falstaff and Quickly in company. Now, I know Falstaff is supposed to be upstairs, but again, we take a license with this. So, Falstaff is there, and he's in your mind. If that helps you, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah? So if it bothers you that he's there, well, then just think of him in your mind. He's there, he just lies down there. And the four of you are in the corners anyway, and you're talking to each other, And at the end of the Henry V Quickly and Company scene, the next character that is described in All the World's a Stage is the man who has a manly voice, but whose voice is now beginning to squeak a bit as he's getting a little bit older and maybe a little infirm, in the infirmary type of condition. And that's John of Gaunt. John of Gaunt, from Richard II.
Who's that?
Same one.
That's Al.
Oh.
And each character will be ushered on by Jennifer, actually, and put into position with you. Okay? As Jacques is giving that part of the speech. So it introduces each of these sections in the first act. And John of Gaunt will be doing his speech as a collage
Break it up.
with Edmund from King Lear, which will be a kind of prelude to the next part. So John of Gaunt and Edmund will be on both sides of this table and go back and forth with your speech, Julio, and your speech. So we'll intercut those two speeches as if you're talking to each other. Thou nature art my goddess. You're talking to everybody, but and your speech ends with, you both end your sections, right? We'll rehearse that. But basically, it goes back and forth. It starts with you, it goes to Julio, it goes back to you, it goes back to Julio.
My last line is, how happy then am I ensuing that?
We'll see.
Just,
But something like that.
that's what I had.
We'll see what it is.
Very good about it.
I like the last one being this, and this English.
Blessed pause.
Maybe.
We'll figure it out.
We'll see. And then the end of the first act is Sans teeth,
Son's eyes,
Sans eyes,
Sam's mouth.
Sans everything, and Jen brings out Lear.